All right, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. My name is Kanika Mohan, and I'm a counselor here at MindTribe. I primarily deal with cases related to anxiety, depression, emotional regulation, stress, just to name a few things. And I'm joined by my co host, Harsh. Harsh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Kanaka. Good afternoon, everyone. We are here today for the workshop Effective Time Management. I'll be your co-host for today. My name is Harsh Deshmukh and I'm a psychologist here at MindTribe. So if you guys have any questions, any doubts, you can put them in the chat. And if Kanika can't get to it because of time or the flow of the presentation, I'll help you out. Back to you.
Thank you, Harsh. So, this workshop is basically about something we all struggle with, which is managing our time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, but some people seem to use those hours better than others. So, today we'll try to understand how that works and how you can do that as well. Before we start, I'll go over some basic guidelines for the workshop. The first is that this workshop is the intellectual property of MindTribe, so video recording of this workshop is strictly prohibited. Please be respectful to other people in the group, and please maintain the decorum and discipline of the workshop. Keep your camera switched off and your mics muted as well. If you have a question, you can use the raise hand feature, or you can put your question in the chat. And like Harsh mentioned, he'll be around just answering your questions if I'm not able to get to them. So today we'll be focusing on time management, its importance, signs of poor time management, the benefits that time management can have, along with techniques that we can use, and some specialized tips for students that they can use for their exam preps and everything. So starting off with a question, what's one thing that wastes your time each day? You can use the raise hand feature or the chat box. My phone. Definitely, I feel like a lot of people would relate to that. Phone again. Yes, doom scrolling on social media, definitely. Online sessions, social media, definitely. Procrastination. hmm Thinking too much before doing, so decision making can take a lot of time as well, definitely. Sleeping all day. Okay. Phone, social media, YouTube, overthinking, definitely scrolling, Instagram. A lot of these things I'm sure everyone would relate to. Scrolling mindlessly. Instagram is the main one. Definitely, it's very easy to kind of get lost in all those reels and posts. Overthinking. hmm Instagram again. Pakistani dramas on YouTube. Okay. Anxiety. hmm When you have a lot of things to do, it can definitely be very anxiety provoking. Anime. Okay. My screen time a few days back was over 7 hours. Definitely. I think phone and social media are the biggest ones. Overthinking. All right. Thank you so much for participating, everyone. So now we'll kind of go into what is time management. So time management is not just about squeezing more activities into your day. It's about strategically planning and prioritizing tasks to ensure you're spending your time effectively and efficiently. It's about making conscious choices about how you allocate your time to achieve your goals and meet your deadlines. So it can basically mean knowing what matters, planning around that, and sticking to it. Maybe not perfectly, but consistently. So, why does time management matter? We often think of it as something which is very rigid, like a strict routine. But in reality, time management is just about making sure your time goes where it matters the most. So, some of the key reasons why it's important is number one, setting goals and objectives. So when you manage your time, you become clearer about what you actually want to achieve. Big goals can become more manageable when you break them down and plan them. Then deadlines, then without a deadline, a task just kind of floats around. When you assign a time limit for your work, it gives you a sense of structure, it gives you accountability. Then delegation of responsibilities. Managing your time can help you recognize what you need to do and what you can hand off or share with someone else. You don't need to do everything yourself. And when you are able to sort of plan that, you can see that a lot of the tasks that are pending are things that you can delegate to someone else. Then prioritizing activities. Time management teaches you to say this matters more than that right now. It's not about doing everything, but more about doing the right things first, then spending the right time on the right activity. So we often spend hours on low priority work and minutes on what actually matters. So when you manage your time, you reverse that. You protect your time for more high impact tasks and more important tasks that you need to get done. And then effective planning. So planning isn't just about writing a to-do list. It's about building a realistic structure around your day. It helps you get things done without burning out. So basically, time management isn't about being productive, it's about being intentional with your time. So, good time management can help you feel more in control. It can help you reduce stress, build confidence, and give you time to actually enjoy your breaks without feeling any guilt. It also gives you a sense of clarity on what to do, what can wait, what doesn't need to be done right now. And when we don't manage our time well, it can kind of it can lead to missed deadlines, you feeling very stressed or anxious, you keep rushing from one thing to another. So some signs of it can be constantly running late, leaving everything for the last minute, forgetting that you had those deadlines in the first place, saying yes to too much, and not having enough time to rest or unwind. So this procrastination, this rushed work, and missing deadlines, they basically come into play because of either poorly defined goals. So having very vague goals set up, like I have to study for my exam. So you know what you have to do, but you don't have a specific idea of where to start. And that can lead to not, you prioritizing the wrong subjects, you prioritizing the wrong way of studying, which is why, you rush your studying, you cram all the things you do, and that can lead to not getting good marks and stuff like that. Another reason why this can happen is clocking in lots of overtime, which is basically just adding more to your plate than you can take. So taking up more things than you actually have the time to do so, not being able to say no, like we discussed. So imagine you have an empty glass jar. Next to it, you have some big rocks, some small pebbles, and fine sand. Fine sand. So the question is, how do you fit everything into the jar? So if you start with the sand and then add the pebbles, you'll never have space left for the rocks. But if you do it the other way around, you put the big rocks in first, and then the pebbles, and then pour the sand last. It can all fit in that jar. So what does this mean for your time? The rocks here basically signify your most important tasks or your priorities, like studying, health, relationships, rest. Then pebbles are the things that matter but can wait or be adjusted, like emails, certain errands, group chats. And then your sand is basically the small stuff that fills your day, like scrolling, YouTube, your unplanned distractions. So if you focus on the small stuff first, your day gets full, but not in a meaningful way. But if you start with what matters the most, which is your rocks, you will always have space for the rest. So now we'll look into what are the benefits of time management. So when you manage your time well, the benefits show up not just in your work, but in how you feel day to day. So some of the benefits can be one, punctuality and discipline. You start showing up on time, not just physically, but mentally prepared. You feel more organized and more in control. Then you have it helps with your confidence. When you consistently meet your goals, you start believing in your ability to handle what's on your plate. That's where confidence really grows, from those small wins rather than the big ones. Then it gives you clarity and focus. You're not juggling with everything all at once. Your brain has space to breathe and focus on one thing at a time. Then less stress and anxiety. When you know what your day looks like, it lowers the chaos. You're not constantly reacting, but you're responding to the things that you have already kind of set up for yourself. Then better prioritization. With better time management, you stop sweating the small stuff. You start focusing on what truly moves you forward. And then it can also help you achieve your goals faster because you're spending your time on what really matters, without overworking or overthinking it. So we'll quickly have an ad break. So just like on YouTube, if it's free, then there's an ad. If you want, you can drink some water, have a bit of a movement break while we're doing the ad break. So first, what is one-on-one counseling? So one-on-one counseling is a personalized, confidential session between a client and a trained therapist. One-on-one counseling can help with personal growth. It can give you insight into your thoughts, behaviors, emotions. It can also help with problem solving. It can address specific issues like anxiety, relationship problems, stress, and it can also help with goal setting. So you can work with your counselor to develop personal, professional goals and have that accountability to go through with them. So one of the biggest misconceptions about counseling and therapy is that it's only for those people who are sick or for very extreme cases. When in reality, counseling is for anybody who wants to be their best version. So if you want better relationships, you want to make more friends, you want academic success, career advancement, or any type of personal growth, counseling can be for you. So why choose MindTribe Counseling? So we are a group of highly trained counselors. We have been in this field for a very long time. We have the experience and skills for this. Our prices at MindTribe are very affordable. They can range from 800 to 5,000 depending on the counselor. We give our first session at 249, and we also have affordable packages so that people can avail, the mental health care that they deserve without it being too much of a burden financially. So I'll just pause here for 2 minutes. If anybody has any questions about therapy, how counseling works, anything about MindTribe and how we provide sessions, you can go ahead and ask. If not, you can also give me a thumbs up and we can move forward. Yes, Arya. Somebody raised their hand. You can go ahead and speak. All right, we'll move forward. If anybody has any questions regarding this, you can always, ma'am, what are the charges after the first session? It depends on counselor to counselor. Like for me, it's after the 249 first session, the prices are 800 per session. And like I mentioned, there are also affordable packages. So a three session package can look like 2,250. But like I said, it kind of depends from counselor to counselor. You can always have a look on the MindTribe website. All our profiles are there, and you can choose a counselor based on who you think you would be better gelled with, and also how much they are like asking after a first session. Right. Again, if there are any more questions related to this, you can put it in the chat box, and my co-host will get to you with the answers related to that. Right. So moving on. We'll be talking about the techniques of time management. First, we'll understand the key elements of time management. So the five core things that can help you manage your time effectively is number one, prioritization, which is again, like I kind of discussed, knowing what's the most important for you to do right now. Then the second is planning. It can be planning out your day, planning out your week, even planning out your month. Then scheduling. So actually assigning time to the tasks. organization, which is keeping things in place and easy to find, such as your notes or your documents, whatever you require for that specific task. Then goal setting, which is basically having a direction, even if it's a small step forward. So you don't have to do all five of these perfectly. You can start with what feels doable. So you can spend one day trying to prioritize, trying to understand what all tasks you have. And then you can spend the next day kind of planning, does this need to be done immediately? Do I have to do it within the week? Can I schedule it for maybe a month later or maybe 2 weeks later, depending on, again, the importance of it? Then actually assigning a time to it, like Monday from 7 to 8, I'm going to study this topic. From 8 to 9, I'm going to study this topic. And then having all your materials ready, just getting them ready before you kind of commit to it. And again, all of this can be a part of your goal setting. So another question for you guys. Can you identify your high energy hours in the day? So when do you feel like you have the energy to do most of your tasks? In the morning, in the afternoon, the evening? Okay. I found it in the morning, night times, morning 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. Okay. It's okay not to be sure about this as well. Even I find it difficult to get motivation to wake up. I know it can be quite challenging. Evening and early morning, when you have silence. Okay, definitely. Too much noise can be a very major distraction. So morning or night, so maybe early morning or night, completely understandable. Midnight mostly. Okay, early morning or night. I'm able to set my tasks, but I'm not able to execute because of many things going in my mind, the problems I'm facing, which I understand that can be quite challenging. And maybe these techniques that I'll kind of discuss further with you can help kind of give you a sense of direction so that that overthinking can go down a bit. I can focus for hours if I do work in the early morning. Anytime I feel productive after procrastinating for long. All right. So a lot of people are morning people, some people are night owls, and some people are still in the process of finding out what time really suits them, and that's all perfectly valid. So the reason for me asking you this question is related to something called our internal clock. So our internal clock is also known as our circadian rhythm. It plays a significant role in time management by influencing our energy levels, our alertness, and mood throughout the day. So understanding and working with our biological rhythms can help us optimize our schedules, increase productivity, and overall improve our in general well-being. So how can our internal clock impact time management? So first, it can regulate energy levels. So our internal clock dictates periods of high and low energy, influencing when we are most productive and when we need to rest. Like I mentioned, it influences alertness and mood. So it impacts our ability to focus and engage in tasks. It also regulates our sleep-wake cycle, ensuring we feel tired at night and alert during the day, which is crucial for our rest and recovery. And by understanding our internal clock, we can identify the times of days when we are naturally more alert and focused, allowing us to schedule demanding tasks accordingly. So, how can you leverage your internal clock? So, the first is, like I said, identifying peak productivity hours. So, throughout the day, just paying attention to your energy levels and trying to schedule your most challenging tasks during your peak periods. Then establishing a consistent sleep schedule. So maintaining a regular sleep-wake cycle can help regulate your internal clock. It can also improve your sleep quality and lead to better energy levels and focus. Then also kind of synchronizing with natural rhythms. So engaging with activities where you get sunlight exposure during the day and limiting screen time before bed can also help regulate your circadian rhythm. And then again, recognizing that your internal clock requires periods of rest and incorporating breaks into your schedule to prevent burnout and maintain focus. So, like the example which is on the slide, this person recognized that 7 a.m. when they wake up, they have very high energy then. But by the time it's 8 and they have to get breakfast and they're getting ready, their energy feels like it's going down a bit. After exercising or during exercise, that energy kind of comes back. and they're able to channelize it for studying. So just, kind of observing yourself throughout the day, seeing what times do you feel the most productive, when you feel like you have the most energy to do anything. Use that time effectively to schedule things that need to be done, rather than, using that time for scrolling on your phone or something like that, so that you're able to manage your time much better. The second technique that we're going to talk about is the Pomodoro technique. So how it how does it work? So basically, you choose one task that you want to focus on. You set a 25-minute timer. There are plenty of apps available for this. There are plenty of websites which have the Pomodoro technique. So you can use that for setting that 25-minute timer. And then you work only on that one task. And you kind of have to be accountable for yourself in this. So you have to ensure that you're not looking at your phone, or you're not switching your tabs on your laptop. And then after 25 minutes, taking a 5-minute break. Then you can repeat this cycle 3 to 4 times. And after repeating it 3 to 4 times, you can take a longer break for 15 to 30 minutes. So the reason why it works is that it trains your brain to focus in short bursts. It also reduces burnout by giving you planned breaks. So for example, if you're studying, let's say, for a test, so the first Pomodoro cycle, you will review your lecture notes on the topic that you're studying, and then you'll have that 5-minute break after those 25 minutes. In that break, try not to go on your phone, but do something which still keeps you a bit alert, like a movement break, doing a few stretches, walking to the kitchen, drinking a glass of water. And then after those 5 minutes, you start with your second Pomodoro cycle. You can, let's say, solve 5 practice questions when you're doing that. And then you can take another 5-minute break. In that break, maybe you can do something else. Maybe you can look at your important notifications on your phone. But when that happens, please keep a timer on, because it is very easy for us to get distracted by our phone and go back into that cycle of doom scrolling and stuff like that. So having a timer will give you just that 5 minutes to look at your phone. And then you can come back and do the third Pomodoro cycle, which is you can read extra things, extra material related to the topic that you're doing. And after that, you can maybe take a 15-minute or 20-minute break, so that you can get the rest that you require. So by the end of those 3 Pomodoros, you've made basically more progress than if you would have studied for 2 hours while switching between Instagram and your books. So it gives you a sense of accountability with that timer on. Then the second technique we're going to be talking about is time blocking. So how does it work? Basically, you break your day into chunks of time, and you assign each chunk to a specific task or type of work. This can include time for meals, rest, and even scrolling on your phone. So basically what you do is you treat each time block like an appointment, and you show up for it and you stay present. So why does it work? Basically, you're not just creating a simple to-do list, you're giving every task its own space in your day. This can help reduce decision fatigue and keep you on track. Like many people who mentioned overthinking and not being able to understand what to do first. So when you plan ahead like this, you don't have to worry about making decisions right in the moment of what should I do first. So here is an example of how this technique can work. So you can use apps like Google Calendar and all of those things that can help. Or you can even create, if you're very creative, you can create a timetable like this and use different colors to signify different tasks so that it looks a little appealing. So this person has done task number 1 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Monday. And they've also scheduled a time for lunch. So they gave 12 to 1 p.m. for lunch, and then 1 to 2 for a team meeting, and then task 2 for 2 to 5. So they've planned out every, time of that day. Similarly, for the 14th, they have task number 3, which is scheduled for 9 to 11, and then they've given themselves a break for half an hour, and then going into deep work from 11:30 to 1, and then again, the 1 to 2 slot for lunch. And similarly, you can plan the rest of your week depending on that. Right. And then the third technique that we have is the Eisenhower Matrix. So this matrix was given by this person named Eisenhower, and he basically um, divided tasks into these four quadrants, like the diagram that's shown before. So there can be tasks which are urgent, non-urgent, important, and non-important. So the tasks that are urgent and important are things that you do now. The tasks that are not urgent but important, you can schedule them for later. The tasks which are urgent but not important, you can delegate that, or you can do them much later in the week, or you can like designate a time for them way later. And then the things which are not urgent and not important, you can do that. You can kind of let go of that. You don't really need to do that, or you can schedule it for when you have more downtime. So why does it work? It basically lets us know that not everything needs to be done right away. It helps you basically work smart and not just hard. So, for example, taking the example of a student, if you have an assignment which is due tomorrow, that will fall into quadrant one, which was the urgent and important quadrant. You have to do it now. And then the second is start, like, for example, you have to start work on next week's exam prep. So it is something that is important, but it's not urgent because you still have a week's time. So you can put that in quadrant two, which is the important but not urgent quadrant. So you can schedule this time for the weekend, for example. The third task you may have is replying to a group chat about some club that you've joined in university. So it is urgent, but it's not important. So you can either ask a friend to reply on your behalf, or you can do a quick reply and just get back to the task at hand. And the fourth task you may have is maybe scrolling Instagram to look at some new study hacks. It's not important and it's not urgent, so you can let it go, or you can save it for your downtime. Again, this kind of helps us from stop wasting time on low value tasks just because they feel urgent in the moment. So let me see. Does anybody have any questions on these techniques? You can use the chat box, raise your hand. Any questions about any of the techniques? Can you explain the second technique once more? Um, so, okay, so the second technique was time blocking. So again, time blocking, basically it means you're going to break your day into chunks of time. Let me just open the example. So like this example, there are like chunks from 10 to 11, like 9 to 10 is one chunk of your time, then 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. is another chunk of your time. So you break your day into chunks of time and you assign each chunk to a specific task or type of work. So like from 10 to 12, this person has dedicated it to task number one. It could be, let's say, studying a topic of physics. And then task two could be studying another chapter in your physics book, for example. So you assign each chunk to a specific activity that you have to do. You also assign time for things which are like, you schedule your meals, you schedule your breaks, you even schedule time to scroll through your phone if you need to. And you kind of treat all of these chunks as an appointment, like, like a doctor appointment or something where you kind of have to show up for them as a professional would. So, it basically, you're not just making a to-do list, but you're also actively allotting time to specific tasks so that you actually get them done. And when you put them on a calendar app or something, you get constant reminders about it that like in half an hour, you have to do this task. So it gives you a sense of accountability to do that. So that's basically time blocking. I hope that was clear. All right. And the third technique was the Eisenhower Matrix. Somebody asked for the name of it. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix. It's named after the person who basically gave this theory. Right. So moving on, there's a quick activity based on the Eisenhower Matrix. So we have these four tasks that you have to do. And using the diagram on the left, you have to tell me which block you're going to put these tasks in. Are they something that you need to do immediately? Is it something that you need to plan and prioritize? Something you can delegate to someone else, or something that you can get rid of from your schedule, completely delete? So the first task that you have is going to the doctor for a routine checkup. Where do you think this would fall in the matrix? Orange block, plan, important, not urgent. Mhm. Not urgent, but important. Orange, plan, right. Anyone else have a different answer? Maybe plan. All right, so all of you have kind of gotten it right. It falls into the planning category because it is something which is important. Going to a doctor's appointment is important, but it's not something that is urgent. So you can always schedule that for later. You can always get an appointment for later. So definitely. Of course, it can also be a bit subjective. You might not feel like you need to go to a doctor right now, so you feel like if you can delete it or something like that. But if it's kind of on your list of things you need to do, that means it is probably important, and you should get to it at some point. So the people who answered plan completely correct. Then the second is binge watching a Netflix series you've already seen. Delete gray block. Okay. Delete. Not urgent, not important. Mhm. All right, so yes, all of you are correct. It falls into the delete category because it's not something which is urgent and not important. Somebody did mention that it can be green because chilling is important. Definitely, it can. It is important to take rest. But basically, what this matrix does is it kind of makes you focus on tasks that actually need you to prioritize them. So it doesn't say don't take breaks, but it's saying that the things that can be done during your breaks, don't prioritize them, don't get busy with them. So like I said, a lot of these things can be subjective to people depending on how your day to day looks like. But ideally, it would be in the delete category, which is either you don't need to do it that day if you feel like you already have a lot, or whenever you get the time, whenever you're taking a break, you can kind of go and binge watch that series to relax yourself. Right. Then our third is buying a gift for a birthday that's a week away. Delegate green block. Plan or delegate depending on the person whose birthday is coming and weekly busy schedules. Green, not urgent, important. Mm-hmm. Also be urgent. Mm-hmm. Plan. Mm-hmm. Delegate or do it at a later point. Orange. Mm-hmm. Green or orange. Mm-hmm. Definitely, all of you have kind of gotten it right. It would ideally, for this example, for this activity, it would fall in the green box, which is delegating or doing it at a much later date. But again, like somebody mentioned, it can depend on the person. If you're getting a gift for your partner or for your parent or somebody like that, then it would probably be more important for you of a task. But for the sake of this example, considering that a doctor's appointment can be something which is much more important than a birthday gift, so you would kind of put that in the green category so that you can prioritize the doctor activity first. But yes, like I said, a lot of these things are subjective. It depends on what you think is the most important for you. But a birthday gift again is something you can maybe ask somebody else to pick up, or you can do it later. You can use something like Amazon or something to order it in, so you don't have to go out. And then the fourth one, which is studying the night before a final exam. Urgent and important, the red box. Do do immediately. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So this one is definitely pretty self-explanatory. Um, if you have an exam the next day, of course, that is something that is important and urgent. You need to study for it. So it will be something that you would be focusing on the most, doing immediately. Um, so basically, the purpose of this activity was to see if you kind of understood this matrix, and I can see that all of you have, and that's really great. Definitely, I hope you try this out after this so that it can help you kind of understand how you can prioritize your different activities throughout the day so you don't feel overburdened by things. Right. Now we'll kind of be going into time management tips for students. So a few tips are: number one, setting a goal for yourself. I think I've covered that a lot in this workshop of how goal setting can play a very important role, because it gives you an idea of where you can start, how much work is required, and you know, not feeling too overwhelmed with a lot of the things that you have to do. Like I gave an example in the beginning of this, if you set a very vague goal for yourself that I have to study for this exam, you won't really know where to start. So you have to kind of specify it more, that I have to study for my physics exam. um, I'll give myself a month for the preparation of this if you have that sort of time. And then you break it into shorter goals of, I will do one chapter per day, or however smaller you want to set it up so that you feel the most productive doing it. Then the second is organizing your study space. Having a very cluttered study table can lead to a lot of like distractions, because your brain will always be preoccupied with all the things on your desk. It can be very distracting. It can completely shift your focus and attention. So having your study space organized with just the things that you require, like your notes, your pen, your pencil, your stationery, that can lead you to kind of focus on what's more important the most. Then planning your studies, again, knowing what, maybe starting off with areas that you feel that these are the subjects that I feel that I'm a bit weak in. So prioritizing those, giving more time to that versus the subjects that you already feel you gotten the hang of. So planning it accordingly to that. Then ticking off subjects that you have already completed. You can kind of do it towards a later time, revising them because you already kind of know the material in them. Again, sort of focusing on the things that you feel require more of your attention, because you feel like you need to understand the concepts a bit better in that. And then something very important is avoiding munching while eating. Like I get that it's easier to kind of study when you have something that you to eat. But what happens is that when we're eating something, our body's energy kind of goes into the process of digesting it, and that can make us feel very sleepy. That can make us feel very tired. So try to avoid eating something while you're studying, because that will just kind of get you distracted. And while these tips are like specified for students here, these are also something that can be curated for people who are working. So when you're in a workspace, setting your goals for your day could be like whatever tasks that your boss has given or whatever tasks are pending, prioritizing that accordingly. Organizing your work desk can also like help you feel more focused on the tasks that you need to do, rather than you have like all these unnecessary documents on your tables and stuff like that. That can be very distracting. Then planning your day at work, knowing what tasks require more of your attention and stuff like that. And then you know learning how to delegate stuff at work. If you have a team member who you think has less work compared to you, you can kind of give them off things that either you've already done 50% and they can do the rest of the 50%, so you can focus on new tasks. And Again, all of this can go for working professionals as well. Some more tips is doing a SWOT analysis of yourself. So I will be going into what a SWOT analysis is after this slide. So I'll go more into that then. Then again, including some time for relaxation as well. So if you're constantly just studying, I know a lot of people who study 12 hours, 13 hours in a day, and it can get quite a lot. It can be a lot of information that you're taking in. Your brain also needs time to kind of let that information seep in and settle in. So rather than studying for 12 hours, 13 hours continuously, taking those breaks in between so that your brain actually has the chance to process all the information is very important. Then assigning some time for revision as well. So, when you're reading stuff for the first time, you feel like you have it in your head, it's in your memory, but you need to revise it constantly. The more you rehearse something, the more likely it is for that thing to be for that concept to go in your long-term memory. So the more you rehearse it, the more you revise your concepts, the more likely you'll be able to recall it. Then do not go for long calls during study times. Um, when you schedule your breaks, do not schedule them more than the time that you are studying. So if you're studying for 1 hour, don't have a 2 hour break because that won't really help. A 15-minute break, a 20-minute break would be much better than that. Then make sure your study space is well lit and ventilated. So having a comfortable space to study, because if you're feeling too hot or if it's too cluttered and stuff like that, it can become very distracting because all your focus will be on it's too hot, I can't concentrate, I can't study. So making sure that the environment around you is perfectly suitable for your studying condition is important. And then again, choosing the right time for studies, like we talked about, kind of understanding your internal clock, knowing if you're a morning person or an afternoon person or a night owl, so that you can do most of your studying at that point of time, so you're able to better retain information. That can be very useful. So now we'll be moving on to our takeaway activity, which, like I said, is a SWOT analysis. So a SWOT analysis is basically a tool which is used by businesses to understand strengths and weaknesses, but you can also use it for yourself to get a better picture of how you work, study, and manage your time. So what does a SWOT analysis stand for? So the S is strengths. What am I good at? What can help me succeed? So for example, I work well when I plan in advance. I focus better in the morning. I'm good to sticking to deadlines once I start. Those can be some of your key strengths. Then W is weaknesses. What do I struggle with? What holds me back? So your weaknesses can be that, I procrastinate when I feel overwhelmed. I get easily distracted by my phone. I sometimes say yes to too many things, even though I'm not able to handle them. So those can be your weaknesses. Then O is opportunities, which is what can I improve or take advantage of. So, for example, you can use time blocking to get more done. You can ask a friend to study with you so that you can stay accountable. If you have a long weekend coming up, you can catch up on your pending tasks, your pending assignments then. So all of those are opportunities that you can kind of use to your advantage. Then T is threats. So what obstacles or habits might get in my way? So a threat can be like my sleep schedule is off. I waste too much time doom scrolling before I go to bed. I often underestimate how long tasks take. So doing a SWOT analysis can give you a snapshot of where you stand and what small changes can make a big difference. So does anyone have any questions regarding that? When should we really scroll? Again, like I said, if you can do it in your downtime, but when you do it, when, during your breaks, it's good if you have if you're done for the day, like after dinner or something, for half an hour or something, you can maybe go through your phone, catch up on all the things that you missed up on. But try to keep a limit for it, set a timer so that you don't kind of go into doom scrolling so much that hours go by. So as it's no, there's nothing wrong with being on your phone, being on Instagram, because for a lot of people it is something that helps them relax. It's just knowing that you're not exceeding the limit of it and it's not interfering in other tasks of yours. So setting a timer for that, even at night before going to bed, just knowing that, okay, from maybe 10:30 to 11, I'll be on my phone, and after that, I'll go to sleep. Ideally, though, you should not do it before bed, like at least 1 or 2 hours before you go to sleep, but maybe 10-15 minutes just catching up on any messages, seeing if anybody has texted you, but having a time limit for that. Hmm. Can you repeat O and T, please? So O is opportunities. Opportunities basically are, what is something like, what, how can I improve on something? Is there something in my immediate environment that I can use to my advantage? So like the example I gave was, if you have a long weekend coming up, using that long weekend to catch up on the tasks that you may have previously procrastinated on. So that is an opportunity that comes your way. Or if you have a friend who likes to do group studies and stuff like that, and you are somebody who personally struggles with studying by yourself, then having that friend come over for a study session can be an opportunity, so that it can keep you accountable and it can keep you studying. So those are opportunities. And then threats are basically things which can act as an obstacle, or habits of yours that lead to ineffective time management. So, not having a consistent sleep schedule and waking up feeling very lethargic can be a threat. Scrolling before bed, wasting your time on your phone, underestimating how long a task can take, those are examples of threats. So, those are things you basically identify, or things that you need to work on, basically. Mhm. Right? How to get motivation to get up early, as I get up late and half of the day is already gone. Like I kind of mentioned before, it's very important to understand your internal clock. Um, you have to kind of basically schedule your day in a way that you have enough sleep. So if you're somebody who goes to bed at 1 and 2, you have to kind of actively shift towards a more suitable bedtime. So a lot of tips around that can be, first of all, don't use your phone at least 1 to 2 hours before going to bed, because what happens is, when we that basically our screens, they affect our internal clock. They mess with what's night and day for our body. So it's important that you kind of not use your phone before going to bed. The second thing is, if you're somebody who drinks coffee, do not drink coffee before going to bed. That does not help. Having a fixed bedtime routine. So having a fixed bedtime routine can include, doing your skincare, reading a book before going to bed, maybe listening to some relaxation music, and doing that consistently every time before going to bed. That can be very useful, because it kind of, the more you do it, the more you kind of inculcate it in your routine, the more your brain kind of knows that, okay, I've started doing my skincare. That means it's almost time to go to bed. Your brain kind of actively starts preparing to go to sleep. So working on that can help a lot. It will help you feel a bit more energized when you wake up in the morning, once you get the hang of it. It takes time. It's not something that will happen in a day, but try to give it a little bit of time, give it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it will kind of become a habit on its own. Then how to manage all of this with relationship, as my time is spent more on chatting than on scrolling, and chatting is important too. Having boundaries in your relationship can help. Like, if you have certain tasks, just kind of communicating that to your partner, like, hi, hey, I have an exam, I really need to study for it. How about we sort of schedule our time to chat later in the day, and giving them a time that you think is, you would be able to. And also getting them to kind of respect the, if you're giving yourself half an hour break and you want to spend that half an hour chatting to your partner, letting them know that I'm only going to be available for that half an hour, and getting them to also respect that, basically. Then I have shut notifications off and even put time limits on apps that I use mostly. Yeah, definitely, that's a good idea. Shutting notifications, is that do not disturb feature on most of our phones. Using that can also really help, so that you don't hear that constant ping of your phone notifications going off. Waking before 8 does wonders. Definitely, like I've heard a lot of people say that. Waking up early in the morning is when we're the most fresh. It can help, study. It can help you study better. You feel a lot more energetic. Even before studying, going for a morning walk can be very helpful. Mhm. I have to set body clock. I came from another country. I'm having trouble sleeping at 11. Jet lag is real. I completely understand that. Again, it's once you kind of form a better routine, you kind of actively keep yourself awake according to the timings of that specific country that you're at, like following their schedule, following their morning schedule and stuff like that. After a point, gradually that does shift. Right. All right. So that is all for our workshop today. So you don't really need to overhaul your whole life today. You can pick one thing from the session and try it out this week. Even a small change can make a big difference over time. And just remember that managing your time is really about managing your energy and your attention. And that starts with awareness and choice. And I really hope that the techniques that we've talked about in this workshop are some small stepping stones that you can use on this journey. So thank you so much. And I'll I'll just go through the questions. Can you mention all the techniques once more? Pomodoro, time blocking, and Eisenhower Matrix. Was there any other technique? Yeah, no. So these were the three primary techniques. I also touched about how your internal clock can kind of help you. That wasn't much of a technique. It was more of building awareness on what times of the day you feel more energized in. So you can use then time blocking and Pomodoro and all of these techniques during those high energy times. So you can get your tasks done more effectively. The first question of the session was just asking where do you feel you waste your time the most in a day? Mm-hmm. Right, I did. Yes, Kanvi.
Uh, so, good afternoon, everybody. So, thank you for a wonderful, well organized, very important topic, right? So, I have certain questions. Since
Mm-hmm.
you have told us to 3 to 4 techniques, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
can you please tell the sequence we should be using it? For example, what I feel is I'll share you and then you can add on, right? From my perspective, I feel that the very beginning step should be the SWOT analysis because that will make me better understand myself, my goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then followed by it would be the one which you have told. Sorry,
The
one
matrix.
sec. uh, the urgent and the non-urgent thing one, right? And then after that would be the time blocking thing, and then the first one will come into play. I guess I'm right with the sequence.
Right. So these techniques, they don't really need to be done in a particular sequence. You don't have to use Eisenhower matrix along with time blocking along with that. You can choose any one technique that you think is the more suitable for you. So if you're somebody who finds it very challenging to understand what task I need to do in a day and decision making is very difficult for you, so using something like the Eisenhower matrix can help you in that sense. But if you're somebody who is able to prioritize your tasks, but you kind of procrastinate them, you don't really know what time to do it at, then time blocking can be very helpful. And then the first technique that I talked about, which was Pomodoro technique. If you're somebody that just struggles to give your attention to a specific task, like you get distracted by your phone, or you have to study a lot, but it's very hard for you to concentrate for that 1 hour, 2 hour. So you can break it up. You can of course use these techniques hand in hand, and if that is the logical sequence that you find, then you can definitely use that. But it's not necessary that you have to use all of them because it can also get quite overwhelming. So you can use whatever one you think you struggle with the most and use that. And if you feel like these work in a sequence for you, it helps give you better of a structure, then you can definitely use that in the sequence that you talked about. That seemed perfectly fine to me.
Okay. So can you like the first technique was for the person those who are not able to have larger focus, right? Uh, and
Mhm.
can you give me the objective of time blocking, like of that technique? Because rest other objectives are clear. So if you can.
Yes, of course. So basically, the objective of time blocking is that sometimes it's very common for us to make this to-do list, right? Like we know that these are the tasks I have to do today, but we don't really know how to go about it. Like how much time should I allot to a specific task? Will it take me an hour? Do I want to do it in an hour? So what time blocking does, it gives you it basically gives you a specific space in your day, a specific time in your day to do that task. So, for example, you have four things on your to-do list. You have to study for your English exam, you have to study for a physics exam, chemistry exam, biology exam. So that can be quite a lot. So what you can do is from 10 to 11, you will study physics. And then you will take a break for half an hour and you will schedule that with time blocking. And then after that 15-minute break, you will kind of read something related to English for half an hour or 1 hour, depending on that. So it basically helps with making using your time very intentionally. That's the objective. Rather than just having a list of things, it gives you the list as well as the timing of when you will do those things.
Okay, thank you. Justified. And I also wanted to have some light, like what I feel is, as per my knowledge,
Mhm,
the internal cycle of everybody is different, right?
mhm,
It usually it should go by the daylight kind of concept, but some the productivity of some people are like or you already specified more in the morning or evening or that. Like for me, silence and early morning or late nights works
mhm,
better as compared to day, because I get distracted and there's notification, etc., right? So
mhm.
how we can manage with that, how we can synchronize our productivity with the circadian rhythm, like the normal, if you can, because it may vary with everybody, right?
Mhm.
So a journal, if you can tell, like a kind of guideline, you can say, like just an example that we can learn something from it.
Right. So basically, the point of that was the times when you feel productive, like you mentioned, early in the morning and late in the evening are times you feel productive. So that means you schedule the more important tasks that you have during those hours. And the rest of the time that you're kind of awake, you can do more milder tasks. Like again, taking the example that we did for the Eisenhower thing. So if you have an exam that you have to study for and it's in a few days, then you using the time in the morning, using the time in the evening to do majority of the studying would be beneficial for you. And the other time that you have in the afternoon, you can do other tasks like studying for a subject that is something that you are more comfortable with, the topics of it better, or maybe doing a practice question or something for a different subject. If you have other chores and stuff around the house, you can use the time in between that for that. So all the more important heavy hitting stuff you do when you feel at your most productive, and the other tasks which are not that important or do not require that much of your focus and attention because you already get a sense of, like, you already understand those topics or something, like you do that during the times you feel a little less on energy. So I hope that made sense.
Yes, justified. And I also want to know that when we have, like when we do the I guess the unimportant important one stuff. So if we have some important tasks, like what we call it, uh, like important and urgent tasks, and there are many, for example, or it can be anyway, like which will lead to our productivity. So how we can manage this? Then we should go for, after that we should go for the time blocking thing. So
Yeah,
that would help, I guess.
yeah, definitely. You're right. Time blocking would help because it will give you a specific time to do those urgent and important tasks. You can you can allot a specific time to it so it doesn't feel overwhelming, and you can also schedule breaks in between so that you can also get the rest that you require rather than jumping from one task to the other.
Okay, so one last question. If
Mm-hmm.
someone is like what to be it is my real example, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like I want to do many things at a time, which is not possible because some things are like I am enrolled in some courses like which can benefit me in one way or the other way, right? Like for example, I attend these sessions. It is gonna invest in me if I'm learning from it something, and I'm also implementing it, right?
Mhm.
So I am into learning psychology kind of thing, like these sessions and everything, and like related to my subject, some courses and internships, like for the volunteering kind of thing, right? So I
Mhm.
can, but the point is this thing, what I found is my whole of the time goes in the the sessions only.
Mhm.
Neither I'm able to completely reflect or attend them attentively because they're overlapping. That I'm indecisive. I accept that thing. So how can we cope up with this thing? Because I want to do many things, but slowly I have already started leaving certain things. Because that has made me overwhelmed. So can you suggest anything? Because it is affecting my time management thing, and obviously reducing my productivity. If it is in the context of this session, please do suggest something.
Definitely. So I think it falls into again the case of prioritization. I understand that we have a lot of goals and a lot of aims. We want to get a lot of things done in a short amount of time. I completely understand that. It's just a matter of knowing which one is more important. So, like you mentioned, that you have courses that you would like to do. Is there a specific course that is more important to you right now? Like it's more relevant to what you're studying or more relevant to a job that you're trying to apply for, then focus on that. And rather than having two or three more, just kind of focus on that for however long that online course is. If there are like these workshops and stuff like that, maybe not attending all of them, but attending the ones that you think are the most relevant to you right now. So, like you said, you were struggling with time management. So, it made sense that you joined this workshop so that you can understand that. But if it's something about some sort of a disorder which is interesting to you, but it's not really relevant right now because it's something that you can look into much later, then you can maybe have even do a course related to that later after you've done the things that are more important. You focused on the skills that you need more right now. So it's just about prioritization.
Okay, so I guess thank you for the answer. I guess the SWOT analysis would help me better make a good decision, and in the decision making, that what is actually uh, benefiting me for my current targets, right? So it is a kind of goal setting opportunity, I can say, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Thank you very much, Sana. Really grateful for this thing. I needed it. I have started something organizing things, but I was overwhelmed, especially for these sessions.
Mm-hmm. Right, thank you so much, Kanvi, for attending. And those were some very, very good questions. And I hope this has been able to help you and my answers have been able to help you. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
Right. I think I did see a lot of people talking about the rocks and pebble thing. So it was basically just an example of how time management can be, how time management should be, and how it can benefit you. So the it was basically like imagining if you had an empty jar glass, and next to that jar glass you had some big rocks, small pebbles, and fine sand. So how would you basically fit those things into the jar? So if you start with the sand first and then add the pebbles and then the rocks, then it will fill up without everything going into the jar. But if you start with the big rocks first and then the pebbles and then pour the sand at the end, then all of the things would be able to fit in the jar more effectively. So, how is this related to time management? So, if you look at the rocks as your most important tasks and the pebbles as things that matter but can wait or be adjusted, and sand as the small stuff that fills your days, like your scrolling, your Instagram, your unplanned distractions. So if you focus on the small stuff first, your day gets filled with things, but not in a very meaningful way. You will not have a very productive day. But if you start with what matters the most, which is your rocks, and then you go for your pebbles and then your sand, then your day kind of gets filled with more productivity. That was basically the point of that. Right. All right. So if there are no more questions, then thank you everyone once again for joining in. And I really hope that this session can help you better manage your time in some small way. Thank you once again for joining in.
Thank you once again. I just needed to suggest something.
Mhm.
When the participation certificate link is shared, actually it is mandatory to fill it, right? मतलब कि, star is marked on that Google form point. So I just request, since we also need to share the feedback, right?
Mhm.
I'm not able to do it because I'm not interested in the certificates on, because I'm not from psychology. Having it for my personal growth.
Mhm.
So it's just a suggestion that you can omit the marking it as star or essential, so that the feedback of ours as well as the participation one certificate who needs, that can go hand in hand together. So I guess it will be easy for team also, and it is a minor change,
Mhm.
because actually I was not able to give feedback on certain things because of this thing, and doing a separate mail, sometimes I forget, I have skipped it
Mhm.
after the session. So just a suggestion, so that if it would work.
Mhm. No, definitely. Thank you so much for that suggestion, Tanvi, and we'll definitely keep that in mind. It's very useful. Thank you.
Thank you.